little bit in the last few days. We'll see what happens here as we get into picks and bans. Bolts will be your first pick team. This was not somewhere you wanted to be yesterday. A lot of second pick teams winning up until the very, very end. Although I think the Warriors were able to scoop one up. And yeah, look at that. Johnny was there for the interview, but his cam goes off for the game. Ducky hanging out is the only visual we'll have from the Valkyries.
Hey, there he is.
Of course, the man, the myth, the legend himself. And look, okay, I love Ducky.
Oh, now you're going to drop a really mean Ducky stat, huh?
I'm not going to – I can't remember the number.
I love Ducky, but –
he is one of the most losing players in the history of the SPL.
He's going to turn his cam off, man. Why'd you do it?
I will – the only reason I know that is because he asked me.
Oh, okay. Well, he brought it on himself.
He sent me a message and was like, hey, what's my win rate in the SPL? And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. I'll go find out for you. And then I messaged it to him, and I was like, I'm going to keep this, like, between us. Like, this number can just stay here. I don't mind letting people know that he's lost a lot of games. But like, this number, staying here.
Okay. Good
until I drop it somewhere.
Okay.
Or I let it slip in this picks and bans. You never know.
Don't do that. Geb, Khepri, and Set are going to be banned out here by the Bolts, and the Valkyries remove Artio, Ull, and Odin. So Ull may be living up to some of the hype that he's established for himself already within the SPL, but that leaves a lot of priority picks available. As far as Guardians are concerned, Yamoja is still out there.
Yeah.
Even could go towards the Sylvanas that we've seen the Scarabs find a lot of value on in the past, but instead the Bolts go for the tried and true, the heal god, the water goddess, and the goddess of pressure, Yamoja, locked in.
Oh, this is one of those picks that for a long time, again, it was the Bolts and the Scarabs last year that just weren't able to play the Yamoja, and so you didn't have to worry about letting it through because Jake did not stand up to that level. That has changed so drastically in just a year. And so this is going to be a very, very potent pick for them. Cerberus is the answer. And this is actually something that I was going to ask you about it. Like, we've seen Geb skyrocket. Uller now obviously skyrocketing in terms of priority and getting banned away. The Khepri is up there. It feels like with this shift, you're bound to see, the Tiamats a lot more, Raigen's making it through a lot more, your Yamojas. Like, a lot of these picks that, admittedly, we kind of got used to just being permabanned have suddenly flooded the market.
Yeah, I think that's a byproduct of how much 8.9 has kind of shook up the meta. You generally do see jungle bans kind of consistently throughout every single year of Smite competitive play, but right now, who are the meta junglers? Who is it that is a little bit better than everyone else? Nobody knows, so junglers largely go by the wayside in the ban phase. Set, though, going to be the one exception for the Bolts, and that means that if you are banning everything else, generally solo and support, it leaves these other flavor picks available. Tiamat in the third selection for the Bolts, and on the other side, I heard you give a little hoot there. Johnny's Loki coming out to play.
Yeah, you go back to, what was it? I guess phase one. Some of the best looks that we've really got to see from the Valkyries was behind this Loki. And I think we mentioned that a few times in phase two. Didn't quite stand up to snuff in those games. But also it was a different meta at the time, right? I mean, you're putting Loki up against an Osiris or an Erlong or a Gilgamesh.
And that was Bruiser Loki, too.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily fit as well. This feels like carry Johnny Loki, and that is a good feel for the Valkyries. They also have the Sobek alongside that, and they ban out the Circuit, starting to kind of isolate and narrow their views over towards Lasbra. The Bolt's going for a ban that I feel like, at least in this day and age, not only is beneficial, but also something that only the Valkyries have run with the Neath.
Yeah, Neath generally goes towards zeros in the mid lane, likes to utilize that global ultimate to make sure he is having his presence known in every single one of the side lanes. It also just legitimately has some pretty good matchups against some of these mid mages. Now the Valkyries, considering their second ban, and I thought that it likely would have been the Camazotz if they wanted to continually target out Lasbra, but maybe hedging their bets that this Nike could potentially be headed into the jungle, does have flex potential into solo as well. So instead, go ahead and remove something they might want to play. They still need a hunter, pretty clearly, the Olympus Bolts, so the Valkyries take Cupid off the table.
And it's, again, something that in this day and age, when you look at abilities, I don't throw it too far away from something that could exist very easily in the forefront. That being said, a lot of hunters have still had a lot of prowess.
Cupid used to be a mage, right?
Used to straight up. He did.
Straight up used to be an ability god. He had that kind of damage behind him, and now with the scaling of the mace tree and transcendence, Cupid might be having a resurgence.
You remember building crit on Ymir?
I do. Those were the good old days.
And like you could do like crit Freya.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was dirty. We don't talk about those times. Those are dark ages now. As a Hu Yi gets locked in here, another good one that has been on the rise as of late. Yesterday suffered a little bit in some of those games, specifically in a matchup against an Uller, but this time around feels like a pick that comes right back home for Emilito.
Yeah, it really is, man. I mean, Ho Yi is a pick that is very aggressive, and when I think of Emilito, I generally do kind of keep my eyes towards like the Heimdalls, the Jingweis, people that can play a little bit more passively in lane than have great rotations into the team fight. Ho Yi, on the other hand, has a similar ability to play safe in lane. You can utilize that ultimate to just kind of clear from a range, but otherwise, generally, when you're fighting with Ho Yi and you think you've got 1v1 potential, it's like all in. You're using that leap for additional CC. You have to use like your entire kit to find stuns. So this could be a different look for Emil out of the duo lane. But the Bolts on the other side, this is the pick that I was thinking potentially Lazaro was going to go towards. Camazot's being hovered.
Yeah. Right before that, it was hovering over a Kali. And I was going to ask you about it because honestly, between all 8 of the junglers, I think maybe I could throw layers out there for a Kali conversation, but realistically, Johnny is the player that I would expect with like Cherio gone. That is the only person who I could think to be able to pull that one out. It's the Daji, though, over both the Kali that was hovered and the Camazots. How do you feel about that one?
It's a great way to burn away some of these beads. It's a good way to force these ultimates defensively. But this is something that I think is a little bit more interesting. Somehow Raijin is still
kind of
available.
Forgot about him,
a
if I'm
10th pick
honest with you.
selection, right? Yeah. I'm sure the Valks, if they do elect to pick up that Raijin, are very happy with how the bans have lined up for them. But going back to this Daji, it's great just 1v1 potential. If you're in a position as the Bolts in a siege situation, you don't generally have the best 5v5 siege. The defensive capacity of the Valkyries draft is incredibly strong.
Not just because of the survivability of the gods with their abilities like Jingwei for escapability, but you're also looking at the likes of, well, Yamoja, who's going to provide more sustain for the team with the health, with the shields too. And when you look at what Valkyries have drafted, J-Mac, where's the kills going to come from? It really is the only one I can see in the early game to really try and focus on is the Tiamat in the mid lane with the Loki. But then when you look at the other side lanes, it's not easy to find picks here.
That's where we've been seeing a lot of the action for the Valkyries as of recent, has been towards that mid lane. Johnny wants to try and get Zeros ahead, try and get him that farm to allow his side lanes to kind of just do as they please. Ducky's been able to pick up the slack just a little bit here for the Valkyries, getting some nice solo kills in the earlier stages of the game against some of these oppositions, but we'll see how it breaks out for him in this one. Important thing to note, now we're not seeing just purely Sentinel's Gift anymore as far as these support relics and support starters have gone.
Sure.
We are seeing some benevolence. I'm actually surprised that Raffer isn't going for the war flag that he's been rushing in the last couple of
the early game, then 50 health. You're not a support, you're a carry. You want some more sustain on that, in my opinion.
Well, one thing that Emilito loves doing here is throwing some ricochets to get some big damage. Haddix uses his barrier formation. Will he be able to make it out? Johnny rotates over, a leap in on top of Ducky. Now Ducky's the one in danger. The 1,000 cuts are more than enough damage to take him out. Lasbra strikes first.
Like the idea from Valkyries trying to get aggressive in the solo lane before Haddix hits those power spikes of having that ultimate available to keep the pressure rolling. Bad news is a good rotation coming in from Lasbra there to counter that, and he's punishing the Valkyries hard.
Johnny almost falling down, gets back to that tier 1 tower. Not enough bleed damage just yet from Lasbra. He's only sitting at level 4. Jake will rotate in towards mid and put a little bit of pressure against Zeros, who's also gone for a little bit different of a start. We haven't seen this Vampiric Shroud in mid lane in quite some time.
I think the sustain from that aim is very useful. There's plenty of good options with the upgrade as well as the game goes on. We've seen him on this patch too. I feel this leans very heavily into a Valkyrie-style compositions that will work effectively. Raffer on more defensive supports. I think that's one of the reasons you saw the Bolts ban away Kepri and Geb, which are two of Raffer's real good, solid go-tos over the years. And he's won world championships on him, so it shows you they can do it. But more importantly, I think the jungle being back to Assassins, it gets to showcase Johnny, and one of the reasons why the Europeans have been so big on him over the years. But the way the Bolts have drafted this game is making it very tough.
Ducky uses his ultimate to try and make sure that blue buff stays secure, and Emil has to walk away. Leap in, and the River's Rebuke cut off the path. Emily 2 falling down. It's the River's Rebuke that deal the damage to bring him down. Raffer used his ultimate to get away from the Pal-Lao, trying to turn the fight back, but with that Riptide, that's an easy escape for the Bolts.
But it's already, you can see that the Valkyries are trying to react to what Bolts are putting the pressure on. Bolts are starting to realize now already that they can kind of have their way with things in terms of going into the jungle, starting off these engagements, and because of the god selections, in my opinion, it's very easy for them to potentially survive here and resustain in these engagements too. Good work from the Bolts so far, continue to invade this purple buff.
Build, especially with a god like Raijin who can apply it so easily, but there are other flat pen options.
Precisely.
You can go, there's the Spear of Desolation, you can go Spear of the Mages if you want to really try and burn a single target down, so we'll see where he elects to go with his build. Right now it's a red buff invade by the Bolts. They're successful in taking that one away, so Zeros will be without that extra bit of power. It's Lazarus diving in against Rapper, only level 5. Ultimate's available, will have to use it, but he's not going to get any benefit from it. It's Lazarus coming out on top, and Johnny in danger.
Yeah, Johnny has to ult away to safety. Ducky's still being chased down, has to leap over the wall too. And just look at how Bolts are winning the engagements in these skirmishes. 2v2s, 3v3s, they're all going the way of Bolts. And Valhalla Valkyries are more on the defensive time. And again, I guess at the time being though, it's 7 minutes in the game, they really just want to farm up a little bit, get some of these items online. But in doing so, they're giving Bolts this wiggle room to exploit the map a little bit more, find some more farm.
Now it's 2,000 gold. Now they're upping that lead just a little bit more. And Emil has been the one who's really been suffering for most of the players. He's sitting at the bottom end of the farm as far as the rest of his team goes. Well, I say that, but he's sitting level 8 to Rapper 6, but it's a support. I mean, it's the woes of support. You're always going to be a bit behind, especially in this early game.
I do like what Emilito did there. Jake is definitely trying to play with his food over in that duel and keep the pressure on Emilito, but Emil drops his ult and goes, hey, I will kill you if you just stand in my face, and now we get an engagement on right.
Rapper going to get stunned. Barra has to use the airstrike. Not enough damage from Johnny to get the kill, but maybe they can grab Jake. Rivers Rebuke are good, and over the wall will dive Emil looking for Jake.
Yep.
And gets him right out of the Riptide.
But look at this as well. Valkyries, 4 members strong here. Looking at Lasbra, who has the Paolo. And you can just see the jungle there. Venenu's looking for an option to come in if he can find it, but gets aggressed on by Johnny.
And it's only Lasbra, and it's only Emil gets pulled in by Lasbra. Emilitu picks up the double kill in the midst of the fight, and it's going to be a 2-swing here for the Valkyries, not losing anybody in that engagement.
Johnny might be able to get a kill onto Venenu here. His dash is down. He will have his ultimate for the CC immunity, but here's some more damage.
Good timing from Ven, but Johnny will pick him up under the tower. Another big kill on the board for the Valhalla Valkyries, closing up that gold lead. Now just getting closer towards that 2,000.
That ended up in Valhalla Valkyries' favor, and that's what they've got to keep doing through this game. Let Bolts make mistakes. The problem is, Bolts won't make the same mistake more than once, I want to say. Maybe they'll prove me wrong in this one.
Ducky is being pushed back by Haddix, not having fun trying to secure his own blue buff. The woes of the Guardian solo, you're not going to have as much secure compared to some of these warriors. And he's just being a bully. He is just not going to let him get this blue buff, while the rest of the Bolts aren't going to let Raffer try and go for this purple buff. Emil will spot him out. He'll throw out the ricochet for some damage, but it's a stun back that'll stop him in place.
Look at Johnny, though. He is rotating in towards this. Plenty of Omni available, though, from Jake, so he should be able to Riptide away if he needs to. Still taking a ton of damage, though, as he tails away from Johnny, and Barrow returns what he can, but now the rotation from Bolts could be here.
Johnny in danger. Lasbra over the wall, and 1,000 cuts bleed will take him down. Rapper plucks Lasbra right into the middle of the Suns. Emil will get hit by the chain, but he'll have to be skid away, but Rapper does not have that same benefit. Stuck on the backside of the pit. He'll fall down, but at least Emil can trade out one.
Yeah, at least Emil gets a kill there onto Lasbra, so that does shut down a little bit of what the Bolts were doing towards that area of the map. But that's an example there of Valkyries winning an engagement off mistakes from Bolts, trying to continue that flow. But the difference is Bolts making adjustments. It's in a bit of an easier part of the map for them to take an even fight, because they've got towards the Gold Fury, a little bit closer towards mid.
Jake, just teasing Emil over here,
yeah,
and maybe he'll be hit back. Rivers Rebuke comes through, and with the dive bomb gone, Emil can't get over the wall just yet. He's got Barracuda as backup for him, but it's Zeros as Emil's backup. But Emil's the one who needs the help on the tail end of it. Also, Jake may be able to take him down. The 1v1 is good. Jake finds one, but Zeros will trade him.
Unfortunate over there on that left-hand side. I mean, if you think about it, just on paper there, you get Jake for Emilito, so a win for the Bolts. But how much extra was invested there too? Will Baron now be punished for using his ultimate? Will Zeros be punished for using his?
Jake's perspective from that little skirmish is he just has his little 1v1. It's just the battle of the autos, and well, it seems that this Guardian's autos are doing just a little bit more, even missing one with the double bounce. The drums not going to do much there. It looked like he was trying to go for damage just to kill him, but maybe some of those taunts or some of the fears could have been a little bit more beneficial.
Every single time you end up going, you know you're going to fall down, get as much damage out as you can, and maybe find yourself a kill, and that's what Jake ended up having to do there. I think it could have been a lot cleaner for them if Barrow wasn't zoned away by the ultimate from Zeros, but that just shows that Valkyries are doing these rotations well. I think seeing Zeros on that left-hand side of the map to support Emilito was fantastic. Sad to say, it wasn't worth more than just that kill on Jake in trade for Emil.
We were wondering if there was going to be an anti-heal coming from the Valkyries. It will be a Divine Ruin, and they'll start up the Gold Fury. Haddix zoning Raffer away. The Gold Fury's already down to half health. Zeros can't find a way in. Johnny has to assassinate out, and Emil used the dive bomb just to leap away from Haddix.
Taking into account all this damage taken, though, from the Valhalla Valkyries won't be healed up the same way it will from the Bolts, and you can see this is working out in Bolts' favor so far.
Raffer smacked back by the Riptide, has to go into the Lurking in the Waters. Jake down to half health, and now that Ducky is here, they've got another ultimate online for the Valkyries to utilize, but it's Haddix who's bullying them in the backline. The Ren will be stopped out. Raffer now has to run back. Ducky cannot make it into that back line.
This is fine though, they get a tier 1 tower in the mid lane so far, so even if they lose the Gold Fury here, they do find some gold across the map and opening it up. But them still to continue to hang around with less and less members as time goes on, it makes it just more and more risky. Ducky's looking for a hero play here, and I'm not sure he should. I think it's the better side of caution here. Fall back, strip some jungle with Johnny, get him a bit of a lead there. It's now 2 levels for Johnny in the jungle on this lead with that tier 1 going down in mid lane.
Almost catches Lasper, but not going to do quite enough. And it's a group up in mid lane by the Bolts looking for Zeros, or maybe looking for Raffer. Bera and Jake step forward, but Raffer, he'll immediately use that charge spray and get out.
Intriguing the play from Bolts here, though, to send multiple members mid and just leave Emelito to deal with Lasbra instead of a normal carry in this lane. Lasbra has a good matchup into this, and it's showing right now.
Yeah, Lasbra's going to get that easy 1v1 up against Emil. Not enough defense on him to save his life. To be Raffer diving under the tier 2 just to get away, but Haddix is so tanky, pops that Sentinel of Zeus and is just walking down the support.
And now with that, the tier 2 tower's a little bit more exposed here. Minion wave coming in. Zeros, even if he doesn't die here, the damage has been done to his mid lane. This was Bolts grouping up a little bit quicker than that of the Valkyries here, and Valkyries caught with their pants down in mid lane with so many members grouped in that middle area. Bolts used the men advantage to take some pressure and now exploit the jungle once more.
Tier 1 tower, and then now we get to take an instant replay look at the Lasbra versus Emil fight, and this is just raw damage output over anything else. That's all that this fight came down to. It wasn't I-timed Aegis better, I-timed Beads better. This is just Lasbra outplaying.
Yeah, those two know each other really well as well. Playing in the EU scene against each other time and again doesn't surprise me that they would have come up against each other.
Jake continuing the push.
And when they get to that tier 2, the question is, do they stick around here? They've got a couple of minions, they've got a ward in the jungle now. And I don't think there's a whole lot Emelito and Rafa can do other than drop ultimates. The good news is there's not too many minions, so this tower won't fall off this go around this time. With an Oni minion wave, as you mentioned, now coming through, could spell some trouble.
Haddix is going to try and push Ducky around, and Ducky is just looking for a way out. He'll get the paralyzing spit just to stun him out, but he's got 3 surrounding him from the Bolts. Ducky has no escape out, no ult, no leap, no life.
Notice that, though, on the right-hand side, the Bolts have 3 members in the solo lane dealing with Ducky, and what happens on the rest of the map from the Bolts? They fall back. You saw the pressure that we saw out of Barracuda and Jake in the duel lane, but they know that they've got a man disadvantage on that side. If the jungler rotates in there, they're under pressure. So they fall back. They let Valhalla Valkyries just lose a life and don't lose anything for it.
Johnny's trying to locate Barracuda, but he'll have to use the Assassinate to get out. Raffer
Zeros
now fighting against Barra, but he's losing that trade. Zeros and Emil walking through, but Zeros used the ultimate. It's only against Haddix. He's not going to get much more value out of it.
And this was the Valhalla Valkyries trying to engage that red buff to put some punish on. Good ricochet off the triple from Emil, though. He's still going to end up falling down.
Not going to be enough. Haddix manages to make it out of there just by the skin of his teeth.
Really good play from them overall as well. So now with that, they can start to rotate for the Pyro again, maybe look for the Fire Giant too, and now look to try and maybe pick another target. But Johnny's ultimate on cooldown. Not many options here for Valhalla Valkyries to defend this, and it doesn't surprise me. They're going to look at the Fire Giant.
Nobody from the Valkyries here to respond. This Fire Giant looking like it's going to go the way of the Bolts for absolutely free. Off the tail end of a big fight from the Bolts, they're going to extend that gold lead 7,000 in their favor. Ducky is here, but Ducky is way too late to try and stop this. Fire Giant goes the way of the Bolts.
And it's just tier 2 towers remaining now with a minion wave pushing on this right-hand side and obviously a Tiamat on board. It won't take too long for this tier 2 tower on the right to fall down, and then they can maybe start rotating around the map for more, or if they would like to, try and siege up a Phoenix. I will say the Phoenix siege is pretty solid here too. Let's see how this plays out.
Waiting for Zeros' ult to come back online, but already pushing up the right side. Tier 2 falls, it's another 1,500 gold for them, and now the Valkyrie's just on a full defense. Ducky is trying to find a way in, but all this damage coming out from Venenu, all the zoning damage left on this Fire Giant power play. They'll take down the left side Tier 2, the mid Tier 2, the last one standing, but they might just be looking for this left side Phoenix. Ducky and Raffer are here at the front, but Johnny is being dealt with by Haddix. This tanky frontliner of the Bolts is making sure they keep one of the Valkyries' carries at bay.
Keep an eye on Ducky, keep an eye on Rafa. One of them is going to have to blink engage at some point. They can't just keep getting poked out like this. The health bars will just dwindle down, and there's Rafa looking for it now.
Raffer finds the pluck. It's only against Jake, and the beads are good to get him out. The suns fall down, but there's no further damage and no further follow-up.
Very aware of it.
Bolts are regrouping, waiting for the minions to walk forward so they have some way to get in towards that Phoenix. They could just be waiting for Haddix. He's got his ult. All ults of the Bolts still online. That'll be Haddix going right in the back line, pushing Emil back, and Ducky trying to find a way to get his ultimate to get any kind of relevancy, but he's being burned down by the rest of the Bolts.
Now the Ducky's going to end up falling down after Zeros here as Ducky still under pressure. did get his ultimate off, but it won't be enough for a kill. Johnny returns one to Lasbra, but now the pressure's done and the Phoenix has already fallen.
Phoenix down, one more tower left to take, and it'll be that mid-tier 2 that the Bolts start walking towards. Then, if they wish to, they can look for that mid-Phoenix. But the Fire Giant is about to wear off. Only 30 seconds left on that power play. So far, they made good use of it. 2 kills and a left side Phoenix.
I will say, Bolts got, in a way, lucky there. I liked the idea that they engaged, but they had no pressure in any of the other lanes going on. It was a straight-up 5v5, but the previous engagement just beforehand caused the pressure. Oh, no!
Emil walks a little too far forward, and the rest of the Bolts punish him
That
for
could be an
it.
outgame.
That'll be a big kill. 10 seconds on Zeros, 13 seconds on Ducky. But that Phoenix only had 1 second left. It gets taken down quickly by the Bolts. 14,000 gold, almost that 15,000 mark. Raffer and Ducky are on this side of the map, maybe looking to try and disrupt this Fire Giant, maybe looking to take it away.
But they're not coming as a group. They've pushed out the lanes instead. Johnny's basing, and now it's on Ducky and Raffer to try and cause a problem with the FG. But look at him getting zoned away by the front line.
It's just one after the other trying to go for it, but now the rest of the Valkyries are moving in. Fire Giant is down, and it's a hasty retreat from the Valkyries. Too little, too late to get in there. Raffer zoned away, and Zero's picked off. Lasbra gets a big kill for the jungle, looking at Johnny. All the damage might just be enough. Don't even need the pullback.
And with that, with 2 members already dead on the Valkyries, now it's an even harder defense with 2 Phoenixes down too. I don't even need to look at that right-hand side, one that the Bolts are going for, but might as well for the stat lines.
Looking to end the game, or maybe just take one more Phoenix. They got 2 on that right-hand side. Now with all Phoenixes down and 4 members pushing up, the Olympus Bolts can look to close out this game with just the defense from Emil, just the defense from Ducky. May not be enough, but Ducky goes in with the ult, pulling in Ven. Ven will leap in on his own and deal so much damage back to Emil. There's nothing that they can do to defend. Olympus Bolts will take game number 1, maybe after they get an extra kill or 2.
Yeah, they'll get a couple more in the firing, but this really comes back to how the game went at the beginning. Picks and bans, for me, was a big telltale sign of where this one could end up going. Very tanky, sustainable front line from the Bolts overall. Causes problems for the Valkyries.
Winning this set as of right now. Lasbra just looks good, and he gets it going early on.
Yeah, this was a very quick start for the Bolts to initiate this game with a 3-0 lead, and then one good fight back from the Valkyries nets them at the 3-3, and that essentially spells the end of the fight back from there. The gold lead started to balloon out of control thanks to the efforts of Lasbra out of the jungle post this point, even 6-5 at the 16-minute mark, still nets the Bolts about a 4,000 gold lead at that point. The macro play was just superior from the Order team this time around.
That's exactly, I think, the best way to look at it. There were some really good fights back from the Valkyries, although you had mentioned it was 6-5 now on the screen. You can see 11-5, so maybe not all of those fights happening in the late game where they would have liked it. But a lot of the gold lead never really dissipated. The Bolts were still able to control it despite some of the fights that didn't go their way. And then feels like it just kind of followed the natural trajectory of a game that's going to happen that way, which is, hey, our gold lead's bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're just going to win eventually. Again, some good fights and some good drafts, I think, from the Valkyries. But we'll have to see what they're going to be able to change here in game number 2, because they did isolate what felt like a good chunk of what the Bolts like to do. I also think it's worth mentioning Undying there for Barracuda, but also Undying for Haddix. There's some fantastic gameplay from those two as well, but it's the 7-3 and 5 jungler, of course, that takes the spotlight.
Yeah, that is just a great slash on a half. Lasbra, I'm sure, very happy with the 8.9 changes. Worth noting that the one piece of the Valkyries draft that we had faith in, the Loki, actually does legitimately pretty well. Maybe not the most impressive damage output, now that we're looking at it in raw number form. 10,000 left in his contemporary inside of Lasbra. But isn't it?
In his Smite Maxnomic chair. And Barra rocking a Maxnomic chair. Not the Smite Maxnomic chair, but still a Maxnomic. So I guess we can give him the free pass on it.
No, I won't.
Hey, look, that's OG for him. I can guarantee he's had that since, like, what was it,
he's
season
been
2?
repping
That was
Maxnomic
Cloud
for
9?
decades.
Like, that is a very, very old chair for him. Yeah, no, you can see it. Oh, my God, Barra. Maybe, hold on.
Barra, we gave out new chairs,
Dude,
bud.
you won the first World Championship. I'm sure you can afford another Maxnomic chair, man.
Especially
nice.
that sick discount we're running, right?
Yeah, right.
Code
Go
Smite
to
Max.
Smite Max at shop. Oh no, that's shop.smiteproleague.com's insight. You need to go to needforseat.com.
USA.
Need for Seat USA if you're in the US, but if you're not in the US, needforseat.com.
There's other states than the US.
We shipped the chair to Europe, dude. That was a whole thing. We had a ad campaign for it.
Well, man, the joke was that I called other countries anyway. So Gab's been banned.
They are the size of states. Did you know that Germany is about the size of South Carolina?
South Carolina is not even one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, so I went, when I was in Germany, I stayed in the Southwest, and we did about a 5-hour trip up to the top right.
Huh. It's a 5-hour trip for me to visit home in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Anyway, Geb
Same.
and Kepri have been banned, Artio and Odin on the other end, so a lot of the same things that we saw in Game 1. We'll see if the adaptations come through in the actual picks themselves, or maybe in this last banned position. But last time around, it was Yamoja first picked overall, and as it stands right now, could see a repeat of that.
It's not too surprising. Geb and Kepri, I want to see more Geb, at least. I think Kepri, Kepri, I'm okay with getting banned. He's been picked up at first pick for a lot of these. Set was the ban last time for the Bolts as well. Looks like they're trying to slow down Johnny even more so here. And the Uller just swaps places there with the Artio, still going to get banned out. And the Bolts, hey, they're not going to shy away from it. We had a really fun play from Jake on this
what a
emoji,
Valks move.
and he goes right back to it. And yeah, that is the only thing that could be more Valks is if they also lock in Jingwen.
Yeah, what a premium look at the Valkyries here. And you know what? I gotta say it. Are you worried that Sun Wukong is going to get stripped away from you? I'm not sure that you should be. That's the guy right there on your screen right now who is going to be piloting the Sun Wukong for the Valhalla Valkyries, and it is a decent pick. Sun Wukong is not bad. He does everything that you want from a soul laner. Has good poke potential, great rotations, phenomenal survivability, okay CC, and decent initiation, but he's not exactly the meta, and I'm not sure that he's exactly first pick potential.
Well, that's actually, I kind of want to ask you, when you go back to watching when Wukong was the strongest, he was building, what, Soul Eater into Heartseeker. Heartseeker with a little bit of a buff. Does that, like, help this stay? I mean, it was Ducky's best god that we've seen this year. Does he have more power now?
I think that now that junglers aren't playing that frontline tanky role, you really need that presence from your soul lane more so. So effective HP from Soul Eater sure does add to your kind of tankiness, air quotes, but Heartseeker kind of slows down that initiation role of your solo laner. So Sun Wukong likely going to be going for a much more standard soul lane build, just straight up defense, Shoguns, Mystical Mail, things along those lines inside of that lane. But as it stands now, Sobek and Morrigan removed from the table by the Bolts, and the Valkyries have their eyes towards Serket and Daji. Do not want to get a Lasbred.
Yeah, that's, you know what?
That's a verb.
That is a verb. You verbified his name. They do take out, it's the Daji instead of the Cupid this time, and the Sobek on the other side. So you have to see a different look from Raffer, and you're going to have to see a different look from Lasbra. This Terra pick has been someone, admittedly in the past, that is a top tier. I mean, we've seen it yesterday. It was getting first pick a couple of times. It is highly coveted for a lot of these supports, and Raffer was one of the ones that was playing it the most when that started up. And it's kind of surprising to me to see it fall down so far.
Yeah, Terra is just a pick that is just going to fit into any singular draft. She's very much a plug-and-play god in that Earthen Fury is going to do something good for you regardless. Behind, ahead, probably feels better from ahead, but still is going to work at any facet of the game. Great burst heal for your team, good burst of damage onto the opposition. And you've got essentially entire lane control, like worth a CC. The third ability actually locks down like entire pathing throughout the entirety of the map. So I think the Terra is a very strong pick, and surprises me as well that she falls down this low in the pick and ban order. But I got to keep harping on it, man. This Sun Wukong in the first pick position with Heimdall. Let's take a peek at the other side. They got Yamoja, Tiamat, King Arthur, and what I can only imagine, if they so choose, could even be like a Raijin for maybe the Valkyries here. But like, it just feels like the Bolts have gotten a ton more value from their picks.
And it's weird to say this. I mean, you cover up and you try to block off everything but what is, you know, the top three picks here for the Bolts as they wait for the bottom two. And that's plug and play for a majority of these teams. I mean, King Arthur right now is maybe the only one that's on the fence. There's only a couple of players that are going to be pulling him out. And admittedly, it has treated Haddix incredibly well this year. I think for a while he had a 100% win rate, or very close to 100% win rate on that god. If you cover up everything that denotes what team it is on the other side, that screams Valkyries from the roofs. Well, it's got Wukong, Loki, and now Thoth. Like, that is such a Valkyrie.
No, you're right. If anything, you're seeing a couple more Hogs now and again. Both supports this game have picked up the Hand of the Gods consumable just to help them with the wave clear a little bit earlier in the game here. Funny enough, I did see yesterday or the day before where the Dragons played, we saw Mike go back to base and get a secondary Hog to be able to use it on the next purple spawn because they've been pressured in the laning phase. Keep an eye to see if we see more supports do that.
Awesome Jake immediately diving in. Two of them stunned out, but not too much further damage. Instead, it's Awesome Jake being poked out. Those minions helping to drop him down to about half health. The aggression already from the Bolts here in duo.
Power, though, from Yamoja is the big key here. That Omni stacks, you know, you'd be able to throw out those bubbles consistently and stuns. It just gives you great wave clear in the early game, so it's no surprise to see this the case. And look at the bludgeoning damage that has hit onto Emilito. Not looking for damage on him, really, just minion clear, but it has helped.
Johnny gonna help clear out some of those waves that he took quite a hefty chunk of poke from Laz and Ven. While Zeros has some nice safety with Thoth, whether it be with his wall jumping up or him making sure to have his escape as a second ability, Johnny doesn't have that same level of safety. He can use the stealth to try and go in, but you can already see Ven has spotted him out, and he'll try and fire some poke right back at him. Zeros falling low. Laz wants to close the gap, but he's not going to find
Level 1 is definitely the hardest time for Terra in a game. Level 2 is where she starts to pick up, but really, it's level 3 when you've got all 3 of those abilities, because at the moment he's got wall and probably the dash, as you can see there, for that 2-1 combo that's available, but look at Lasma wrapping around the back.
Use the dash for the wave and might not have it for the engagement. A dash from Vera will stun him in place, and a stun from the Moonblast will make sure that Lasbra can pick up the kill, and first blood goes to the Bolts.
2-minute cringe gank, everybody. Yep, back to it again with the junglers. We'll see if we see more than that through the phase as well. Good rotation in from Lasbra, though. The overextension from Valhalla Valkyries, that's the moment where they can start to contest that lane a little bit more. As soon as they do, Lasbra turns up, gets himself a kill. They would have liked Emilito if they could, but taking one and getting 400 gold in the coffers for a Robin in the early game will help his build
Terra
out.
Once that level 3 hits, makes her a little bit better. It's the same thing with Thoth. Now that he can finally pick up that wall, he's got not just safer clear, but also some extra range and some extra damage. The glyph does provide a little bit of extra power when he throws those abilities through the wall. He's the only one who benefits from the ability. Johnny might need to benefit from an escape, use the stealth, but he gets spotted out. Ducky is here to try and slow them down, but he's being slowed in the Tiger form. Johnny will make it out, but now it's the question of, can Ducky get out?
Yeah, and that's the problem here is what happened. The Valkyries here got the blue buff on the right-hand side. Good little play from them. But then Johnny went for more. Johnny gets pinched by Lasbra and Haddix. It forces Sun Wukong, Ducky, to have to go in and defend him, but cost Ducky his life by getting Johnny out of the fray. And more rudely, Johnny's now going to get the blue buff, which means Ducky gets none of that experience, but he has to do it because he knows the pressure was about to come through from the Bolts, and he might just die because of it.
Lasbra blinks in, gets the root, gets the Prana onslaught, and that'll be another kill on the board. 2 now for the jungler and even 1 for Haddix. So all the control on now this right side of the map.
Maybe looks that root. We'll see.
You say Savin, the only thing that pops into mind was watching the NASCC yesterday where Wowie was picking it up in the hunter role. It was an interesting build. It worked out for him, but I don't think that we'll see it here. Instead, it'll be a River's Rebuke in the middle of the lane. Zero's able to dash away, but not from the ult from Lasbra. Crashing down with that Mystic Rush. Puts a 3rd kill on the board and a killing spree for Lasbra.
Set up from Venenu there, more than Jake, more than anything else there. Finding that stun engagement on that to Toth allows Jake to get in there with that River's Rebuke, and then the follow-up available too. Very good work from the Bolts, communicating, working effectively.
One of those moments you're just like, buddy, you just got to fend for yourself. Stay safe, stay under tower, stay under tier 2 if you have to, but yeah, maybe you're the one who's going to have to suffer a little bit this game, because Zeros is really suffering in the mid lane. Ducky also taking a lot of fire in that solo lane. Zero's rotation from Jake and Lasbra. Now that he leaves left lane, he says mid lane is the perfect target, and then puts him down. Johnny trying to return the fire. The assassinate's good, but the damage after not good enough. The Aegis holds on, and Rapper tries to make something for it. Will Venenu fall down? All depends if Rapper can connect the last shots, but the sustain is just too much from this Yamoja. Lasbra will be able to hold him out and take him down.
Ducky. Can Ducky make something happen on Venenu now? Venenu's still alive. Tornado 1, he will fall, but that's a 2-for-1 so far. And Ducky has to cloud and reset. No, he doesn't. He goes back in.
Goes right in for the dunk, but he's low. The decoy's dealing some damage, but he doesn't have any backup. Instead, it's Barracuda on backup for the Bolt, stunned down, and Haddix cleans him up.
Great little play from the Bolts. Good series of plays, picking off the Toth in the middle area straight away. Do want to make note, though, of what Venenu did this game. Didn't start beats, which is most of the go-to situations for a lot of mid laners. He invests into the Aegis at the start of the game, realizing, hey, the CC chain ain't that dominant on the side this time.
Didn't quite have that full lifesteal, and with how many abilities a Tiamat can spam out, he could have stacked it up really nicely during that fight. Emma will meet Barra in the jungle, but Lasbra and Jake are on the way. Rapper will spot out 1, but they may have just turned their sights over towards Rapper instead. A lone Terra all by herself. Maybe easy pickings for the Bolts. Jake looking for the stun, and at least get the slow, and the help from Ven. Rapper falls down. Jake with the kill.
Yeah, the whole play that you were seeing from the Valkyries there was to just try and zone Barra off the farm that he lost for rotating to that mid lane. I just like the adaptation from Bolts, though, towards this middle lane focus. They've already taken that tier 1 tower down in mid as well, remember. This exposes Zeros even more so, and this is what happens when you do that.
Walks up, gets slowed, has the dash to get away, but
Still
needs
available.
to use it if he hasn't. Misses the shot. Lasper goes for the escape, but uses the immunity with the overhead kick to try and get away from Johnny. Raffer's chasing him out, but now it's Ducky in danger. Slammed down by Haddix and jumped on by the mid laner. Haddix picks up one.
And now Raffer on the run as Haddix chases onto Zeros on the backside, and Haddix is still going potently aggressive. But the damage return from the tier 2 is causing problems. Someone could kill that kill. Is Johnny there? No, Johnny doesn't have any cooldowns, I guess. So Haddix is going to slip the noose unless Johnny walks in, but he gets hit by Jake there and forces a reset. Alex escapes, but the damage done to the carries of Valkyries once a little bit more experimental to an extent. Cooldown reduction and pen, though, never not going to be impactful with how the game continues on. So the damage output that Jake does, he can 1v1 more often, just like he did with Emil earlier on today.
And then you get those kills or assists, your cooldowns get a little bit of extra reset, helps with your Omi regen. Raffer needs a little bit of help of his own. He's going to get stuck inside the River's Rebuke. The bubble's slowing him down. The stun good from Ben, and the Cyclone holds him in place to take him down. Ben gets one. Ultimate from Zeros clips Venenu, but that's all it does is it clips him for hardly anything. Meanwhile, Ducky's so low over by this Fire Giant pit.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot you can do against the King Arthur in this lane as well, especially with the Soul Eater build, as we mentioned. You can just resustain back off this and try and hold his own. But Haddix realizing that just keeps the momentum on him, constantly being aggressive, constantly poking him back out again. And this is just keeping him on an island too, while the rest of the team is winning elsewhere on the map.
Ooh, Ducky gets low. The Bluestone Pendant ticks. Not enough to take him down just yet. And thanks to that Ox transformation, he'll be able to find a way out. But Ducky been feeling the pain all game, and so has Zeros. Lasbra has been a constant bully to this mid laner, but Johnny trying to turn this one around, gets a nice assassinate, and will pick up the kill.
It is a shutdown, so that's kind of useful there for the Valkyries, and specifically Johnny in the jungle to find that one. Comes at Zero's life again in the jungle, but it invested a lot from Lasbra to do so. Sure, there's a small win there, and that's really Johnny will get a bit of bonus gold to accelerate his build, but it's becoming more and more apparent that Valkyries are really struggling in this game.
Johnny wants to secure this blue buff, and it looks like he will make sure that that goes their way. Raffer accidentally picks that one up, dashing back. Sure, Ducky would have loved to have had that, but I think with this priority towards the Toth, it's very curious that he would go here, because I believe the Raijin was still up at the tail end of that picks and ban, so not sure why he went with the Thoth when that was, I'm not going to say the clear-cut option, but maybe the safer option.
I do think the team about being pickable, though, and you know, being picked up so regularly is because it's a win con come to the late game. Of like, hey, we've got Tiamat for late game, so if we're behind massively and we can just hold on, Tiamat will become an issue for them to deal with, and we can also get some pressure from those minions.
Ooh, assassinate from Johnny, gets him out, but Lasbar will chase him with an ult of his own. Blink gets Johnny away, and the River's Rebuke just off the mark to hold Johnny in place. He'll be able to make it back out, but he expends a lot.
Yeah, worst thing to see is Loki having to use his ult and his relics defensively just to survive rather than engage, and now look at Zeros!
Lord, Zeros low, Aegis delays the inevitable, Raffer caught in the middle of 4, and the Riptide will not do anything but hinder him. Haddix picks up one, Lasbra the other, and now a tier 2 tower for the Bolts.
Could even be a Phoenix there in mid lane. I don't think there's a whole lot they can do about it if they went for a 4-stack onto this Phoenix. Only the Sun Wukong available and Loki in the jungle, but Loki, remember, just uses ultimate, so he won't have that available to try and defend against the siege.
Ducky blinks over the wall and clears the minions, but the rest of the Bolts aren't concerned about the minions, they're concerned about the Phoenix and maybe Ducky. They'll get the Somersault Cloud from the solo laner, and with a new wave of minions here, they can easily take down this bird and take out the decoy. Maybe Emil as a nice prize, but he's got the Bifrost. He'll make it out.
Yeah, Phoenix was the only real call there. Ping on Johnny in the mid lane just to realize exactly where he is. And this is Bolts just taking a lead and running with it over and over again, now realizing, hey, we got a kill. They've got no one to defend. We can get more than just a tier 2 tower here, especially when the Gold Fury and Pyromancer are down, by the way. That was the best option for him. And the Phoenix, probably one of the best things in the game you could take.
I think Johnny thought about fighting Haddix, and then he took one shot from the Beyblade and thought otherwise. Yeah. Assassinate has to be used to get away from the solo laner. And I mean, this is a level 17 King Arthur. He's got 3 full items online, and 2 of those being physical defense. Not much that Johnny can do, and not much help for Emilio. He's going to go towards the Bifrost, but has to use the ultimate extend to try and dash away, but he gets cut off by Venenu, rotating in. Zero's in danger. He'll dash back under the Phoenix, knocked up by this Tiamat, but not enough damage. Maybe Zeros can get the snipe to get the kill, but he won't go for it.
Yeah, Johnny now rotating back in, but this tier 2 will already fall on the left-hand side here with those minions in tow. Not a whole lot Zeros can do there. But I will say the King Arthur conversation we're having about Haddix here, I do think King Arthur is viable. I don't think he's a top pick anymore, but I think when you see Valkyries draft Sun Wukong early, you can go, yeah, we can pick a King Arthur into this and survive, no problem. And it gives those windows to show what King Arthur can bring us as the game goes on.
Ooh, Mystic Rush takes about a quarter of Johnny's health, and Lasbro will chase him down. Some good damage to try and take that red buff, but that's not going to be anything for Johnny to grab. He'll fall down. Lasbro secures not just the kill, but the buff.
I will say this first weekend we've seen Valkyries on the new patch as well. I am excited about seeing how they play the rest of the phase out though as this meta develops, because it feels very much like a Valkyries meta. When I look at the players in this team, it feels like supports have these defensive supports being very valuable now. Sylvanas, Geb, Capri, the likes of that. But if teams continue to shut that down in bands, I'd like to see the mid, the jungle, the assassins in the jungle.
Apparently,
I just said from production as a Gold Fury. I didn't even realize it was a Gold Fury. My apologies for not keeping track of that one whatsoever. But here's a use of the tough ult. Very useful.
And the wall just makes a nice,
Didn't kill the creep,
long-range, easy kill. No, he didn't.
Didn't kill the minion. That's a shame, man.
Too bad for him. Well, yeah, you get one objective steal. Can you get another one, Zeros? Fire Giant started up. Ducky, he's not going to be able to steal anything except maybe an escape path. He'll stop the Fire Giant for just a brief moment, allow his team to rotate back in. Ox will make sure he gets out for now, but he doesn't go as far as he'd hoped. Barracuda on the horse will crash right down and take out Ducky.
I would lose Ducky to keep the Fire Giant alive. I'm fine with that at the moment. It's giving a bit of Emilito time to free farm and get a tier 2 left. Maybe the Valks can defend this, though. Maybe Zeros can find what he was looking for last time. He's just to be careful of Lasbro, who's got his ultimate available.
And Veneno is looking for him, too. That's going to be Lads and Ven diving on the mid laner. Aegis expended. Valhalla Valkyries are the one who take the Fire Giant. That's another steal. This time off the back of Rapper and Johnny taking that out. That's another big steal for the Valks.
Yeah, you're looking for a reset. Now Zeros gets Veneno, who's left 1v1. That's a big pick for them, too. Meanwhile, left-hand side, there's a fight between Haddix and Emilito going on, and I'm not sure who's winning that. It doesn't look like it's Emilito, though, let's be honest. He's on the run. You can see the pings going down in the jungle, but the Valkyries are the ones with reinforcements on this side now, with Rafa being here, too. Haddix hasn't given up that chase, though, J-Mac. He's still going.
I mean, it's King Arthur. He's got so many forms of mobility to try and close this gap. He just needs one good hit to take him out, and he'll get the overhead swipe. But that's not going to be enough damage. Emil somehow able to make it out of all of there. And now we get to take a look at the second objective steal. This time it was Johnny walking in and able to just walk up and take it. He didn't even use Assassin, just blink basic, and that's all he needed.
Good blink from Johnny there, secures it, and that makes it Ducky's death a little bit earlier on. We'd never have got that FG. So now we should go balls to the wall and get on this Phoenix line again. Middle Phoenix is already weakened. You're not going to be allowed to use this FG to just farm up. We're not going to let you do that. We're going to keep you pinned in your base. We're going to keep taking your jungle, and we're going to keep sieging you until that falls off, and then look to end the game.
Left side tier 2 gone, and now looking towards the Phoenix are the Bolts. The mid lane Phoenix down to half health after respawning. It's able to gotten a little bit of its regen back, but that's a weakened mid Phoenix, and they're going to leave Haddix there to maybe solo take that one. But it's forcing two of the Valkyries to this middle lane. Emilitu is low, and a blink in the back line from Lasbro. Mystic Rush off the mark, and the Bifrost makes sure to get Emil out, but Haddix is bullying the other two members. He picks up Johnny with the ult and forces the beads.
That was a full health Phoenix, by the way, not the weakened one in the mid lane, so there's still an opportunity here for the Bolts to look for that middle Phoenix, unless they get more kills here.
Haddix is in the middle of 5, just spinning around, not a care in the world, but maybe he should care about the damage. He gets rooted out, uses one dash to get away, and a second just to close the distance just a little further. Bolts manage to make it out with all 5 and only expending a couple of relics to do so.
Yeah, Zeros is putting out some pretty good damage numbers on defense so far that I'm noticing. It's keeping Haddix in check, who's not got a ton of magical resistance so far. But as long as Zero stays safe, they've got a shot here.
Did the Bolts stick around too long? The Valkyries are trying to close the gap themselves. Johnny rotating in. He's got ultimate. Could get a big assassinate, but he's not going to go too much further forward. Everybody fairly healthy thanks to the sustain from this Umoja.
Yeah, I mean, look at the low health targets, really Haddix. I mean, Venenu's the one you would want in that scenario, but do you want to see Johnny jumping in onto a King Arthur? I wouldn't. That's for sure. They continue to do that. Valkyries will have a chance at getting back in this game and taking us to a game 3.
There has been quite a big answer towards the anti-heal of this going against this Umoja. There's 2 Brawlers, Beat Sticks, and a Divine Ruin. Johnny, he's going to need a little bit of help getting out of there. Awesome Jake is zoning him out, catches him from the invis on the stun, gets the assassinate. Johnny makes it out, but has to use that ultimate. Meanwhile, there is an upgraded Phantom Veil picked up by Raffer to try and deal with the walls from the Umoja.
Jake's still playing aggressive though, keeping two trapped in here, Raffer and Amelito, who has to go back to base. That's what Jake's trying to do here, is just force out abilities and keep him busy. So Raffer's doing the same sort of thing. Alex to the back, looks at Zeros, but won't find it.
Ducky takes a lot of damage, stunned down, and Barracuda closes it out. A couple basics will do it. Right side Phoenix is the target, or maybe it's just Lasbra as he gets thrown through the realms by Emil, and on landing, Zeros can pick him off. Emil gets the credit for the last hit, and it makes it a 4v4.
And now with this siege going on, it's going to be a bit tricky with some of these ultimates down. Jake using his ult in mid, by the way, means it's trickier for him to be useful around this objective here. Look for his zombie stuns, but the amount of damage they've got might be enough.
Riptide sends 3 forward, but maybe not as far forward as they wanted to go. Haddock stunned under the Phoenix. Johnny comes through, but the knockup from Ven may have just saved the life of his solo laner.
Good work from Ven, but as we said, Tiamat late game, this is where she comes online and causes problems.
Raffer falls down. Venenu with a nice pick on the Ruination, and Haddock's with slivers of health. Once again able to get out. Valhalla Valkyries defend the Phoenix and get hit by the flurry that followed after. So that's all just damage from that second ability on the Tiamat. The Olympus Bolts with the Fire Giant back up. They'll turn their sights towards it immediately. They're going to have to keep their eyes peeled, though. Valhalla Valkyries were able to come in here and steal it last time. Can Johnny make a repeat performance? The blink is up, but Haddock is keeping him in combat to let the Bolts get that objective.
Had eyes on Johnny that entire time this time around, though. Haddock's on zone duty, seems him trying to come in, and now Lasbra's going to take the 1v1. And in 2 shots, he'll take down that assassin in the jungle.
Johnny falls down. Haddock's pushing up right. Only Lasbra in the mid lane while the rest of the team surges up to take that right side Phoenix. Left has respawned, but again, that'll be another weakened Phoenix, and not much health on it on that respawn.
Frustrating for the Valkyries, though. They do a very good job defending their Phoenix on the right and then lose an FG straight away that they can't really contest. They're not in position for. It's kind of brutal, you know? You hold your line and then still lose out, and now you've got to go again, but this time they've got an FG.
Jake's able to sustain the team, not just for the help of him, but with the Fire Giant buff that all 5 have. And the 5v4, it's a blink in the backline from Haddock, looking for Zeros. He's going to take a bit of damage, has to use the beads. Aegis is still on cooldown, and Emil gets through the Bifrost to get away from Haddock. But Barracuda is being zoned out and taking out the frontliners of the Valkyries. Strike 1, but Jake is able to pick off Emilito.
Ducky did great work there, though, onto Barracuda. Take down the AD carry if you can. Zeros lived for so long on that backside, but still goes down to Haddock in the Bluestone.
The Bluestone takes down 1. Ducky doesn't have an escape path. It's going to be Venenu picking up 1. Raffer falls low, has the walls to zone out, but how much longer will that work? Johnny assassinates the wrong way. Caught out by the stun, has to use the beads, and Venenu will close the distance and take him down.
There is a chance for him to end here. 4 members against Raffer. I don't think there's a whole lot they can do, J-Mac. Maybe they can just push an end.
It's a 4 versus 1. Raffer, can he hold the base defense? He's going to throw out the Monolith, but that's not going to give him very much help. Cyclone comes out and deals a lot of damage, and the Bolts just have too much for Raffer to handle. They'll fall down. Game number 2 goes to the Olympus Bolts.
And it boils down to the Bolts won. And it's hard to go beyond there. It felt like at no point were you in the room? Valkyries in a position to fight back.
Were you in the room when, like, I can't remember if it was this play specifically. Vin was like ludicrously low in mid lane, and they had to send. They sent Johnny, they sent Zeros, they sent Raffer, and then Ducky finally was the one who came in and killed Venenu. And I looked at Dave and immediately just went, "How many Valks does it take to kill a Bolt?" And apparently the answer was 4. And unfortunately, that's the way this game started.
That's actually, if you had said that mid-cast, I think you might have had the best cast moment like all year. How many Valkyries does it take to take down 1 Bolt? Too many. And that was a recurring theme throughout the entirety of this game. It took too many Valkyries, and there just weren't enough of them. The Olympus Bolts. Man, this was a.
They won.
Yeah, they won. they won the game, and they look good doing it.
Yeah, and honestly, that's maybe more than you or exactly what you want to ask for, right? You have an unfortunate 2-0 loss earlier this week up against the Dragons. You're trying to get another win under your belt. You go up against the Valkyries. This one needs to be a win for you. Looking at their schedule, what is it, next week, they're going to be playing the Kings and the Leviathans, so, like, they don't necessarily have matches that are going to go this way for them looming on the horizon. If I remember correctly as well, I don't know if I called this out, did Haddock die in game 1? Because he didn't die here. I'm pretty sure he just had an undying set.
He did not. Yeah, I think he's just sitting at a fat 0 in the death column inside of both of these games, and that could be indicative of a larger issue for the Valkyries, right?
Be as troublesome for the Bolts next week, depending on how this next one goes, but it also will affect the standings for them overall. A good win right here helps keep them up in that top 4.
It does. The Olympus Bolts now very comfortable inside of the seating, but as you highlighted, Tartarus Titans probably hot on their heels. Camelot Kings might be able to put a stop to what is in contention now for the longest win streak in Smite's history. Correct me if I'm wrong. If they win this one, they tie the win streak, and if they win the next one, they've got it.
If they win this one, they're at 9, which is 1 below.
1 below.
Then they need to win next week. And I think next week they only play the Valkyries, if I remember correctly.
So they need 3 more to set a new record.
Yes.
Okay, including the set today.
And looking at, who are we talking about? Titans? Yeah, so they play the Kings today. They get the Kings, win, then they will be at 9 sets in a row that they've won. Next week they play the Valkyries. That would tie it at 10 sets in a row. And then they'd have to go another week. And if they win that set, they would then take it.